Hello friends, welcome back to a video, you guys. Today we're talking about a story. I'm going to tell a story today about my Supra that I never told you guys, and I think it's kind of interesting, and there's obviously a benefit to the story. I think we all learned something through this. So you guys remember I had the black A90 Supra. It was a 2021. And this was in 2021, I believe, so it was about 3 years ago. And the Supra it was like a new car. Well, new for me. It had like 7,000 miles on it. For me, that's very new. All my cars have very high mileage. And as most of you know, if you're new to this channel, I build up these cars and have fun with them and do my thing. And I put a lot of time, a lot of money, and a lot of energy into all of these builds. And the Supra was no different. I had spent a lot of time and a lot of money on that car. And I absolutely loved it. I mean, if you are a car guy, you know the relationship that you have with your car. It is an expression of you. It is it's your art. It's your love. We just have appreciations for cars like no other, right? We love them like our very own children. So I had this Supra, and I absolutely loved it, man. I spent all this time and energy building it up, and was really proud of it. I mean, it looked phenomenal, you know, and I still have deep appreciation for the Supras. I just think they're awesome cars, and we work on them all the time at our shop at CES Motorsport. But this whole experience was it was a learning experience for me. The story starts, I went out and met a couple friends out for dinner, and we are in Charlotte, North Carolina, and we met downtown in South End. And if you know the area, South End is kind of like a younger adult area with some good restaurants, good like bars and breweries and stuff like that. So I was just meeting the fellas out for a burger and a beer. At this point in life, you know, I was driving my Supra like pretty much everywhere. It was the only car I had, and this is before I got my VW Tiguan. But basically we ended up going to this restaurant, and I pulled my car up, and there was no lot to park at in this restaurant. And so I ended up just parking on the street, which everyone was doing. There's actually like a nicer M5, like an F10 M5, pretty sick M5, like parked right in front of me. And that made me feel a little bit more secure, like, okay, there's a nicer car out here, like I don't really have to worry. You know, my car wasn't like a Lamborghini or anything, but it was a nice car. It was like a $52,000 car. It was one of the most expensive cars I'd ever purchased in my life. I was really proud of it, put a lot of time and energy into building it. And I saw other nice cars parked in the street, and I didn't really think anything of it. And I was like, okay, cool, like this should be totally fine. I'm just running in to just to have dinner and a beer. Like, what's the worst that can happen? And at the time, I also did not have a dash cam, and this taught me two very valuable lessons. So after I ended up parking, I ended up meeting my buddies in the restaurant. We're there for like maybe like an hour and a half, like really nothing too crazy, and literally just had like a bite and a beer. And I end up coming out to the car, and I noticed all of these like wood chips, you know, like just a bunch of wood chips and like dirt all over my car. And I'm like, what the fuck? How did I get that on my car? Like, did a truck come by and like accidentally dump some stuff on my car? Like, I had no idea. And like, it didn't even cross my mind that like someone would be like just shitty enough to like just take a bunch of mulch and like rocks and like debris and just pour it all over my car. And unfortunately, I don't have any photos and any videos of this. This happened 3 years ago. I have new phones since then. I don't have any. I never posted about it. I never talked about it. And I'll tell you why I didn't do that. But so I ended up coming to the car. It is full of mulch and dirt and rocks and just like all over it, like in the cowl, on the windshield, on the roof, on the trunk, on the hood, intentionally distributed all over my car, and then like nothing else, you know? So very clear that someone had just maliciously tried to like damage my vehicle or mess with me or whatever they were doing. Luckily, the whole front end of the car was in fact PPF'd, but the rest of the car was not. And the rocks and the dirt and the mulch did a number on my paint. And you can imagine, I mean, you know, leaves, like if you like take leaves and put them on your car and then you use a towel or something and like move them or whatever, it will scratch your paint. Like, it's very fragile. And I like to keep my cars clean, man. I put a lot of time and a lot of energy in keeping my cars clean. Unfortunately, this little prank, or whatever you want to call it, really ended up doing a number on my paint. And the car had scratches all over it, like all over it. And I basically sat there for an hour trying to get this like mulch and these rocks and this dirt off of my car without just like scratching it. Because if I would have driven the car like that, would have all just like just gone all over the car and like scratched it even worse. So I had to try and sit there on the side of the road in front of all these people, just like picking up dirt and like moving it off of my car. Just a really, really like shitty situation. And so I was kind of looking around the car and trying to figure out like why this was on my car. And obviously like I had a pretty good idea that someone was fucking with me. You know, I also had my plates at the time said thick. The car was very noticeable. If you knew me from YouTube, like you knew that was my car. And no matter what you do in life, like if you are public in any sense, like I have this YouTube channel and I talk about things and I give my opinions on things. And when people disagree with you, there's always going to be that type of person that they will try to damage your property, or they will try to like scratch your car or mess with you. It's unfortunately part of this business. And there's just shitty people in the world, man. And they're just jealous and they hate and they're just sad human beings sometimes. So unfortunately for me, someone had found my car and decided that they were going to damage it for whatever reason. Who knew? I don't know if they were mad at me or if they just were trying to make a prank and they didn't think it would like damage anything. But it ended up causing some damage. You know, luckily I do a lot of the work on my cars myself, so it didn't really cost me any money, but it cost me a lot of time because I had to basically cut and re-ceramic coat the entire car, which took me like 2 days to do. You know what I mean? Because I do it right. And also, you know, obviously, like, dude, I had wood chips like in the engine, like in the cowl. Bro, that stuff was coming. I was finding it for weeks after this. And I was trying to do my best to get it all out with like a blower and like air, and it was a freaking mess. But I had noticed next to the car that there was this mulch on the side, and someone had like taken all of that mulch and just put it onto my car. And I don't think it was one person. Like it was a lot. Like the entire car was full of it. And the thing that sucks is like this is a very public area, so people had to have watched that happen, and it had to have been more than one person doing it. And it sucks because it's like no one did anything, like no one said anything, no one was like, yo, what are you doing? Like that's fucked up, like that's not even your car, like why are you damaging someone else's property? Unfortunately, like no one stepped up. So I just came out to my car like not completely, like let's be real, like it's not the end of the world, but like, you know, I don't believe in touching anyone's property, no matter how you feel about them, no matter your difference in opinion, whatever the case may be. You never have the right to touch someone's property, period, flat out. Like that's the end of the discussion. And so it was a sucky situation, man. Yeah, it really bummed me out because it made me realize like I could no longer bring like nice things out in public. I actually went to the Volkswagen dealership give me 1 second, pretty much directly after that, and I went and leased my Tiguan. The Tiguan that we currently have, which is actually the lease is coming up, it's about to end, so we're gonna get something different. I think we're just gonna buy something. You know, that whole experience really taught me, like, it taught me quite a few things. No matter how safe you think your stuff is in public, like there's always this type of person who is just jealous and mad, and like unfortunately it happens to people all the time. Like if you are a car guy, more than likely something of this nature has happened to you or your car. It's very, very common. It happens to people all the time. People know that we like our cars and that we take care of them, and then they purposely kind of want to like mess with you because they know that it will get to you. And that's the unfortunate reality. You will find people who will just with you because you're a car guy. So I learned that you are pretty much never safe with your nice car out in public, which is really why I don't really take my nicer cars out anywhere anymore and just let them sit by themselves, because unless I know where I'm gonna be is a pretty safe spot. If I'm going out to dinner, no shot. I'm not taking any of the nice cars. I'm just not doing it because I just don't trust people. If I'm going to like an event and I'm just like leaving the car out for a while, like not a car event, but like let's say a Panthers game or something, I'm not bringing the car. You know what I mean? Like I'm not bringing the car because I just don't trust people. And I've had this happen so many times. Like I've had people like hawk loogies on the E92 M3. Like I'll come back and my M3 has like spit on it and I'm like, bro, like, come on, man. It's the reality of being a car guy and owning like nice things that people are just like, they're just sad and jealous, man. And like sometimes they just want to like try to get to you, you know, because of whatever like issues they have in their own life, and they're just projecting them onto other people. So it is the reality of it. And I learned from that moment forward, because it hadn't really happened to me up until that point, so I kind of like felt like, oh, I'm good, I can bring this car anywhere and just like drive it and I'm cool, like nothing's gonna happen. Realized real quick that is not the case. From that moment forward, like I changed changed what cars I drive and where I bring them. Immediately went out and got a Volkswagen Tiguan for a daily driver, so that's like my second point. I ended up finding out that you need to have some sort of daily driver that you don't have to like necessarily care so much about. Right now it's my wagon. I do care about the wagon, but it's not the end of the world for me personally if something happens to my $5,000 wagon. You know what I mean? Versus like one of my nicer cars. So, you know, I think the lesson there is also like, if you are a car guy and you have like a nice car, it's super important to find yourself like just a daily driver that you don't have to worry about all the time, because inevitably at some point, sadly, this will happen to you more than likely. Some derivative of this. And the other thing that I learned is how important it is to have a dash cam. I did not have a dash cam in my Supra at the time, and had I had one, I would have captured all of that on you know, on film, and it would have been easy to figure out who did it, and it probably wouldn't have been, I could have addressed it, you know, made them pay for any of the damages, or my time at least, and my labor to get the car back in good condition. And you know, the last thing that I learned is that some people just suck, man. Some people just suck. And if you are someone who is out there and like you see something like this happen, like, dude, say something. You know what I mean? Like, just say something. Your fellow civilian who might be a car guy will really appreciate it, because let's be honest, you guys, damaging other people's property is just not it. It's just not it. It was probably like some younger kids who were like, oh, it's a nice car, he thinks he's cool, like, let's like fuck his car up, you know, and that's typically the case. Or it was someone who knew me, but like through YouTube, and they just didn't like me, because that happens too, you know what I mean? But yeah, we learned some valuable lessons that day, my friends, and I do not bring the nice cars anywhere anymore. So yeah, that's my story about the Supra getting damaged, and ended up, you know, it ended up fine in the long run. Obviously, I just took a lot of my time to get it back to a good state, man, and that, you know, that's never a good feeling. Like, no one ever wants to feel like they have to, they can't take their nice car anywhere, and they have to, you know, just babysit the thing, and they have to buy separate cars just to keep their nice car nice, you know. And even in college, I had an EK Civic, a 99 Civic, that was like my pride and joy. It's like a $9,000 car, but I loved this thing. I had a B16 in it. It was super sick. I built it up, just loved it. Like I said, this was when I was in college and I was living in Milwaukee, and I had a night class, and I came out from night class and my window was shattered. You know, people had gotten into the car and were stealing shit. And obviously that's like a different type of person, right? That's not someone who's just like trying to with your car to like with you. That's someone who's like trying to steal from you. So obviously a little bit different, still just as shitty, if not shittier. Yeah, it's just the reality of being a car guy. Like, you need to be protective of your things, because people are out here trying to, they will try to mess with you, and they will try to take shit from you, and they will try to, you know, ruin your stuff. I've even seen things like this happen at car shows, you know, where people actually have their cars on display for other people to look at, and there's kids who will go out and like intentionally fuck with the cars. Like, that is crazy to me. Like, people have gotten their cars keyed at car shows, different events like that. I really like don't go to anything anymore. I'm out of it, man. I just do my own thing now, and it's unfortunate that it has to be like that, but it is the reality of it. And, you know, we live in different times, man. Like, people are just, I don't know what's going on with this world, bro. People are just a little bit more malicious these days, it seems. So yeah, that was my story about the Supra, and I think that's happened to pretty much everyone, right? Like, everyone's had an experience like that where they've unfortunately had to deal with jealous people, or just shitty people. Shitty people, man. There are just shitty people in this world, and there's nothing you can do about it. So yeah, comment down below, you guys, if you have had a similar experience, and do you guys believe in having like a daily driver? I feel like some people are all about that, like, you've got to have a daily driver. Some people are like, nah, not a big deal, like, I don't really care if something happens, which you'd be surprised, a lot of people are like that. For me personally, I put way too much time and way too much money and energy into my cars to just like let shit happen. So yeah, just a little story time today, man. I wanted to share that because I never told that story, and I felt like, you know, some people could probably benefit from this, and some people could probably relate to it too, because this is more common than you think. I just see like stuff like this happening more and more. Like, I even shared a story the other day of this Lamborghini that had been completely keyed all over the car, like just keyed up and down. And it was parked outside because the guy was picking his friend up and like went inside and hung out at his shop and like came back out to like the car just being completely vandalized. And the thing that really astonished me is the amount of people in the comments who were like, well, what were you thinking parking a Lamborghini outside? I'm like, that's crazy. The fact that like people's minds, and I'm not saying just like one person commented this, like hundreds of people commented comments just like that. And in my head, I was like, that is absolutely insane. You're now defending the people who vandalized someone's car because he didn't park the Lamborghini inside, even though he was like going to his friend's shop with his car. First of all, the dude probably has a garage at home if he has a Lamborghini, I'm sure. Second of all, what is he supposed to do? Just park the car in a garage no matter where he goes? And if something happens, it's his fault because he didn't park it in the correct spot? I don't know. That's crazy. And I think that that really like spoke to the fact that some of us are lost, man. If you are vandalizing other people's shit just randomly, like you need help. You definitely need some help. Anyways, I hope you enjoyed this little story today, guys. Comment down below and tell me if you've experienced anything like this. I'm curious to knowing. I'll see you in the next video. Get back to making some merch. And the white on white is pretty sick. Can't lie. See you next time, guys.